Hello everyone and welcome to World Transformation Day. Wow, what a day. So, thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about transforming our lives through food. And this is such a massive subject. But before that, I want you to take a second and I just want you to sit and be comfortable and close your eyes. And I want you to think about on this day, World Transformation Day, what you would like to transform in your life. What would you like to create? What would you like to make space for in your life today? So I just want you to take a second to think about that. And if you want to think about something relating to food, since we're on that food subject right now, that would be great. But if not, that's fine too. So just take a moment to really connect with yourself and feel what you'd like to transform. And then we're going to hold that as the intention through this session. A lot of people, when it comes to food, have a lot of negative connotations around it, a lot of stories around it, a lot of guilt, a lot of feelings. There's a lot of stuff, isn't there, that we can potentially transform when it comes to food. And that's quite an exciting thing. Today, I'm not going to be talking to you about cutting things out, and that's not what this is about. It's about transforming your relationship so that you make a general natural progression. For me, I like to add things in where possible. Let's add in beauty. Let's add in joy. Let's add in gratitude. Let's add in healthy, delicious, amazing food that's going to make us vibe and thrive. And then the other stuff will naturally fall away. I think that's the key, to come from things from that different space, because so often when it comes to food, we're looking at things from this space of getting rid of, restriction. And what does that do? It creates these barriers in our lives. It creates lockdown. It creates restriction. Because whenever you say, don't do that, don't do this, you can't have that, you can't have this, what do you want? You want to go up yours and go and have it, don't you? I know that teenage part of me wants to do that. And I did as a teenager. I did exactly that. My parents said, you have to eat healthy. You know, we were on some major health kick for my mum's health. And what did I do? I stuck my fingers up and rebelled and ate loads of junk food. So I think by being really restrictive, we just put our own backs up. And I don't think this is the way, for me anyway, a healthy way to transform our thoughts around food. So what we want to do is we want to think about what we want to change, what we want to transform. I mean, that's a great word, isn't it? Transform. I think that's an amazing word. It's funny because my online courses, that side of my business is called Transformative Health. Because we can transform our health through the food we eat, through the thoughts we have, through the movement we make with our body. So all of these things are so important when it comes to transforming our health. So on World Transformation Day, I want to tell you a little bit about my journey first and the foods that have really transformed my life. So when I was little, when I was 8, my mum got multiple sclerosis and she transformed our diets overnight. I'm using that word a lot, aren't I? Transformed. She literally switched it so quickly because she started looking into the health benefits of certain foods and the unhealthy aspects of other foods. And so we ate a diet that was high in unrefined foods, that was high in whole foods, you know, a really good diet to be living on. And it was through this that I started to see how what she ate, what my mother ate, really affected her health and her well-being. Now, moving on, I, as a child, was always quite an unwell child. I had asthma and bronchitis. I had pneumonia 3 times, a collapsed lung when I was 3. So I had a lot of health issues into my 20s. I would catch a cold and I'd have bronchitis within a day. So I have overcome a lot of health issues through meditation, through healing and through food. And so my journey has really been on exploring how I could strengthen my being, because I was quite a, you know, when I think about it, in the Victorian days or whatever, I probably would have been one of those children that died of scarlet fever or something. You know, I was quite an unwell being. A lot of that, in hindsight, I know came from my gut, and I had antibiotics a lot as a child because of my pneumonia and constant infections I had. So as I was growing up, when I started on this journey of health and well-being, I realised how important the gut was, and that was the first place I started to work on, healing my gut. And this really massively transformed my health and my life. And it can be done really simply. We can transform our guts, and this is really where we should start. You know, the gut is the center of our intuition. It's the center of our power. You know, in Chinese medicine, it's your dantian is where your qi, your life force is, and this is in your gut. In so many cultures, the gut is referred to as the kind of power source. And yet we've been disconnected from that in our Western world. You know, we don't seem to hold the same reverence for this area as being the seat of life. And when you think about it logically, that's where life is grown in a woman's body. So it is very much that seat of life. It's also the seat of creation, the seat of personal power. And it's the seat of food, the seat of digestion of food, how we actually move food through our being. Because this is such an important aspect of transforming your health and your well-being, is thinking about the fact that when we eat food, we may be eating great food, but when we eat food, that food has to be transformed through our body into nutrients. Now, if we don't have the right bacterial balance in our gut, this food cannot be transformed properly. If when we're eating this food, and this is a really key point, we're upset, we're depressed, we're stressed, whatever it may be, and we're eating in this state of agitation, what we're doing is we're storing those emotions with the food. So we are transforming what could be a nutritious meal into something that is actually going to be harmful on an energetic level because of the emotions that are being swallowed down with it. So something that's really important to take time to do, and it doesn't have to be a religious thing, is when you have a meal, sit down and take a moment to hold hands if you're with other people, or just to sit with your hands together yourself, or your hands on your heart, or your hands over your food, and just take a moment to be grateful, to give grace. Doesn't have to be, as I said, religious, but to be grateful for the abundance that you have been given, for the nurturing that the earth has provided you, for that love. That's what food is. It's unconditional love from the Mother Earth. That's a really powerful thing. That's made me get a bit choked up thinking about that. You know, when we really connect into this feeling, when you tune into the fact that the earth is what provides us with food. It's what provides us with nourishment. And the earth is giving that to us unconditionally all the time. So when we give thanks for that food and we're grateful for that food, we're really amplifying the vibration of that food. We're allowing that food to be a medicine for our being. So this is a really, really important thing, to take that moment so that then when you're eating, the thoughts that you're having that are being stored with that food are thoughts that are good, are thoughts that are healing, that are thoughts that are nurturing, thoughts that are grateful. Gratitude. I mean, what an amazing thing gratitude is. So this is a really key point when we're looking at transforming through food, is actually transforming that food itself into gratitude, into a blessing. There was a story that I heard about a monk. And this monk ate really lovely food for a week and all his vital signs were monitored. And this monk ate McDonald's for a week and all his vital signs were monitored. Now, what happened with this monk is everything was exactly the same in both weeks. Now, I'm not advocating going out eating fast food. It's not what this is about. But what it's showing is the power of prayer. Because the power of thought. Because he sat and blessed his food. So the vibrational energy of that food transformed. So this is what we need to do in all aspects of our life where possible. You know, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect at this, because I by no means am. And I have to catch myself all the time. But that's what it's about. It's about reminding ourselves on a regular basis and knowing that it's okay if we don't do something or we forget. That's fine too, because we're all on a journey. We're all learning. So the first thing when we're looking at transforming through our food is transform that through the power of our thoughts, through the power of gratitude. The second thing when we're transforming for food that has been, as I was saying before, really fundamental is looking at my gut. Not only listening to my gut instinct about what food I want, but also listening to, and this is where I struggle a bit, but I do this, listening to my children about what they want as well. because we have to honour other people's thoughts and feelings around food. We can guide them, because as a child, quite often you want the stuff that's been marketed really well and advertised with colourful, bright things that are going to lure you in, or lots of sugar. So obviously this isn't the ideal thing, but other than that, if we can guide our children and those around us by example, by positivity, but also allowing people space to make changes and decisions themselves. If we force feed anything to anyone, as I mentioned before, the reaction will be fingers up, whatever. You know, people don't want to be force fed anything. People want to come to that conclusion themselves in the right time for them. And this is really possible. So we have to give space for that transformation within others. We have to let others make those choices, but we have to educate so that they can make those choices, because no one can make a choice if they don't have the information. So transforming our way we feel around food by letting go a bit, you know, and this is really hard for me with my children. You know, our oldest said he wants to eat meat, and that for me was a really hard thing, because I don't eat meat and I don't want meat in my house and I don't want to cook meat, but he's 14 and he has to be allowed space to make his own choices. So I said if he was going to do that, please make sure that it's organic, and you know, we have to look at the parameters within that, but I have to give him space to make his choices. Same with my youngest. Sometimes he doesn't want to eat anything other than booby. He's 18 months old and that's fine, and I have to let go and know that when he's hungry, he will eat, instead of force feeding things to anyone, including myself, because it just makes you anxious and stressed. So this is a key thing to be aware of. So as I said, transforming, we want to transform through the thoughts that we have when we're eating. We want to transform by listening to our gut instinct about what foods we need, because we know better than anyone what is right for us. But we have to learn to listen again to our gut. We have to get into the healing of the gut. For me, as I said, this has been one of the most fundamental transformations in my health, was adding in fermented foods, adding in things like sauerkraut, adding in things like water kefir, adding in these beautiful foods that really could transform my health. And they did. Probiotics, and having things like making my own pesto with basil and garlic, which are great gut healers. Having a turmeric latte in the evening to help heal leaky gut syndrome. Amazing healers. These have been some of the fundamental things that have changed my immune system, have changed my relationship with my body. Because before, I used to get quite cross with my body. I used to be quite upset that I was always getting sick. I couldn't understand it. There were things I wanted to do. There was a life I wanted to lead. There was, so much help I wanted to give to the world. I wanted to heal the world. But at the time, I was reaching out to heal everyone else, instead of going, hang on, you're getting sick for a reason. You need to look at yourself. You need to look at healing yourself before you can heal anyone else. Because this is the journey we all have to go through, the healing of our own being, be it through food, be it through love, be it through self-care, be it through movement, whatever it may be. Self-care and self-love and that healing journey is so important for every being. And when you start to love yourself and care for yourself, your food choices will dramatically change, because it's all linked. It's all one, isn't it? Everything that we do is about how we feel about ourselves. Everything we feel, all the reflections from the outer world are an inner mirror of how we feel about ourselves. So if we can start to love ourselves, and it's a kind of chicken and egg thing. What do you do first? Do you start loving yourself by giving yourself good food, or do you start loving yourself and then you give yourself good food? You know, how does it work? And I think we can work to work together with ourselves and do it all at the same time, and start making conscious choices that I want to love myself. So I'm going to start looking after my gut. I'm going to start listening when that voice says, you know what? Why don't you have some celery? Or a fresh juice would be really nice. Or maybe you've had enough of that sugar. And we start listening to this inner voice in a good way and say, okay, I'm going to make positive changes to give myself love through food. And again, we go back to the very beginning thing I said. And if you can take that time to be grateful, then the love increases. The love vibration increases, because you've given time to be grateful for the earth who holds us, who we are part of. So it's that cyclical nature of everything. So for me, as I said, the gratitude is key. Intuition is key, listening to my body, loving my body by giving it foods to heal the gut. So as I said, adding in those fermented foods was a really part of how I transformed my health. And then really, for me, on my journey of transformation, chocolate has to be up there. And when I say chocolate, I don't mean a dairy milk chocolate bar, but I've always loved chocolate. It's been something that I've turned to when I've been sad. It's been something that has helped me through a lot of things, as I think it has most people. You know, we turn to chocolate when we feel blue. And I can think of many occasions when I was crying and upset, maybe as a teenager because a boyfriend had dumped me or whatever it was. And I need chocolate. And it wasn't until I was, how old must I have been? I think I must have been about 29 that I came across raw chocolate. And this was an amazing thing because I started to see the magic in food in a really incredible way. Because I realised that this thing that I loved could be healthy. And I'd been on this journey of transformation with how I thought of food. Instead of food being something that filled my belly, food was becoming at this point a magical medicine for my being, for my soul. Because when you eat something lovely, just like when you go out and look at a beautiful flower, or look at a painting, look at that painting above me, that's incredible, isn't it? There's an artist called Stephen Meakin, and talk about transformation. You can transform yourself by staring at some of those beautiful mandalas. So when I go out and look at a flower, I can really feel, and I breathe in the smell and I look at the colour. I can feel that transforming my being. When I look at a beautiful meal, I can feel that transforming my being on a soul level without even eating it, let alone then eating that thing and breathing in all that goodness. It's an amazing thing. I get quite excited when I see a lovely multicoloured rainbow of food in front of me because I think, oh, yes, that A, the colours are healing me, but B, I think about all the nutrients that are going into my body and my body will start to sing because I'm giving it what it needs. It's very hard to transform your life if you're struggling on a nutritional level. If you're not getting the nutrients coming in and you're deficient in magnesium or deficient in B12 and you're having neurological problems or you're having depression or mental health issues because you're not giving yourself the fuel that your body needs, then it becomes much harder to transform anything. Whereas if we can go to the beginning and say, look, I'm going to give my food a cross-section of nutrients, I'm going to eat a rainbow of food so that my body can be strong in itself to allow me to thrive and really connect with my mission in life, my purpose. Because we all have a purpose. We're all here for a reason. And why not make that reason easier? Why not make it easier to succeed by allowing your body to be in the best space it can be in? And we can do this through food. That food is a big part of that. It's not the only part, but it's a really big part, making sure you're getting those nutrients. Okay, so quick recap. First of all, we're feeling gratitude. We're giving thanks for the food that's in front of us. We're being conscious of our thoughts when we're eating so that we're transforming what we're eating into a really positive blessing for our body. We're listening, we're starting to tune into our intuition, to our inner doctor, to our gut, to ask our bodies what it needs, to listen to that deeper wisdom that we all have about what we need to fill our beings with nutritionally, energetically, on all these levels. Getting into the gut and feeding the gut, feeding these bacteria that are growing inside us. We have thousands and thousands of bacteria in our beings. In fact, there's more bacteria in your being than there is you. So we need to look to work with those bacteria and really feed them and strengthen them by giving them foods that help them, by giving them foods that are rich in microbiota. So what this means is not just fermented foods, but eating fresh foods like kale that you grow and pick, eating apples fresh off the tree. Because all of these foods, fresh foods that haven't been wrapped in plastic, haven't been travelled across the world, haven't gone through all of that process, haven't been sprayed with pesticides, all those foods have living bacteria, have living nutrients, living enzymes on them that will feed the bacteria in our being. We're not meant to live in a sterile, antibacterial world. We're meant to live in a world where we're connected to the soil. I really feel that the soil and the gut are so linked. They are mirrors of each other. So as we strip and pillage the soil and don't put love into the soil, it's exactly what we're doing to our gut. We're stripping and pillaging our gut. So feeding your gut with love is a beautiful thing. I'm making a lovely fermented Mexican drink at the moment, which is pineapples and sugar and water, and you leave it for 3 to 4 days and it ferments and you have an amazing bacterial drink. I like making water kefir as well. Beautiful thing. Sauerkraut is an amazing thing to eat. It's kimchi, miso, all of these amazing foods will feed your gut. Now, when we're feeding our gut with these probiotics, it's really important that you have them with other foods, ideally fruits and vegetables, because the fibre in there increases the bacterial uptake in your gut. So you're feeding your gut with the bacteria, and you're feeding the bacteria with the food that you're eating. That's a lovely cycle, thinking of it like that, isn't it? Then, as I said, moving on, for me, cacao was a transformational food in my life because I realised that I could have something. In fact, I'm having a cacao drink now, my longevity cacao, which is super herbs and medicinal mushrooms, which support the body and fuel the body in such a magical way, which is a really, really lovely, nurturing, warming thing for the soul and for the being. So when I realised that I could make my own chocolate, I could become my own medicine woman and create this beautiful alchemical process of love, of transformation with cacao. This was a really healing part of my journey, and it still is. I'm teaching people on a regular basis how to make lovely chocolate so that they can add in all these other foods, because cacao works as a conduit, as a conductor. It increases the medicine, the magic of other foods. It increases the body's ability to absorb those other foods. So when you put something like a reishi mushroom, which is a medicinal mushroom, in with cacao, this is the perfect synergy, the perfect balance to transform that into a higher vibration, to a higher consciousness. And that, to me, is a really special thing. When we can transform even a beautiful food into an even more beautiful food by combining it with other things. Just like when we combine one soul with another soul, we can make magic. You know, that's a really powerful thing, and it's the same with food. We can combine beautiful things together to create a synergy that is otherworldly. It's not even otherworldly, it is of this world, it is of Gaia. And that is quite a powerful thing. So cacao was always a really big part in my transformational journey. Cacao releases anandamide, which is a bliss chemical in the brain. Cacao does a whole host of other things. I did a video, so you can scroll down on my page and see it another time, on the medicinal benefits of cacao. So this is a really beautiful thing. Another food that has been transformational on my journey are the medicinal mushrooms. So reishi mushroom is an incredible healer. It's known as the Queen of Immortality. I mean, what a beautiful name that is. And in the UK, where I am, we have it's known as artist bracket, which is a type of reishi mushroom, which is very, very common. And I think that our ancestors must have been using this a lot medicinally, because it is a very powerful medicine. Most reishi comes from the red reishi, which originated in China, but does grow in other countries as well. And the red reishi, they're all from the Ganoderma family, has incredible properties to them. The medicinal mushrooms have an accumulative effect, so the more you consume them, the more they work on your body, and they work as immune modulators. So what this means is they regulate the immune system. So I like to, the way I think, I like to visualize things. So I like to have an image, when I think of the reishi, of a general that comes in and you've got all these headless chickens running around, which are the white blood cells, not knowing quite what to deal with, because there's so many things invading our bodies, so many toxins that the immune system's a bit overrun, so many foods that we shouldn't be having that are causing intolerances. So the immune system's on overdrive in a lot of people. And so what happens, I feel, is the reishi comes in and it goes, okay, stop everyone. We're going to chill out for a second and we're going to get some order to this chaos. Okay, so you guys over there, you need to go and deal with these invaders, because we don't want those viruses in here. You guys look really tired. You need to have a nap for 20 minutes. Okay, you guys, you need to go and deal with that food. That's not meant to be there. So it's regulating and it's creating harmony and order within the chaos that we put our bodies under. Reishi mushroom is also very good for the adrenals, and this is something that I think is really important when we look at looking at transforming ourselves, transforming our health, is looking at the stress that we put on our body. We live in a world where we are bombarded by stress. We are really, in a way, under attack all the time, and we need to work on supporting our body to deal with this. So we need to work on really feeding our adrenals and giving them love instead of whipping them like a horse. I would never want to whip a horse, so why would I want to whip my body? And yet most of us do this all the time. It's the same with food. I talk to a lot of people and they feed their animals amazing stuff and they give their animals all this care and love, or their children all this care and love, but when it comes to themselves, it doesn't matter. Well, it does. It does matter. So we don't want to whip our bodies, just like we wouldn't want to whip anyone else. And by putting certain foods in our body, that's what we're doing. We're whipping it. We're getting it to keep going when it's tired and it wants to rest and it wants to recharge. So foods like reishi mushroom help our body to recharge. They help to feed the adrenals so the adrenals can keep giving to us. So the reishi is really beautiful like that. The reishi helps to work with the heart. When I work with the medicinal mushrooms, I view it, so mushrooms have mycelium. Mycelium is the root system of all mushrooms. And these roots are like bright white. And these roots cover the whole planet. Mushrooms are very prolific. Fungi spreads, doesn't it? It spreads everywhere. And the roots of the mushrooms spread everywhere. So what I like to feel on an energetic level is that when I work with the medicinal mushrooms, what I'm doing is I'm tapping in to this web, this root system of light that spreads over the planet. I mean, what an amazing thought that you're eating something that is actually connecting into the roots that cover the whole earth with light. Wow. That's incredible. So that's one of the reasons why I love working with all mushrooms. I love mushrooms. They're one of my favourite foods, but the medicinal mushrooms especially. So this is really, really nice. So when we're looking at transforming our foods, transforming ourselves through foods, someone's put up a great thing which I was about to come on to is actually eating good food, not filling ourselves with a load of junk. This is so key, isn't it? We are what we eat. We are what we absorb. So being grateful, amazing. Working on our gut, listening to our intuition, putting in really powerful foods like cacao and reishi and the other medicinal mushrooms. Putting in a rainbow of nutrients. As I said, let's make sure we're getting these cross-section of nutrients going in so we can really be feeding ourselves. We can be giving ourselves the things that we need. And giving ourselves really beautiful organic food where possible. Growing some of your own food. Some of the most powerful food that we can consume is that fresh living food, as I said, because it's got all this amazing bacteria. It's fresh and high in nutrients. Today I don't want to talk about cutting things out, about not having things, because there's a lot of that around. And there's a lot I could tell you about not eating this and not eating that, not having sugar and all these things. But I think if we can transform ourselves through food by giving ourselves the good stuff, the bad stuff will fall away. So what is the good stuff? As I said, it's eating fresh food. It's eating clean food. It's eating that organic food that's not been sprayed with pesticides. It's eating food that's been grown with love. You know, this is so important. Food that's been grown with good water. And even if it's only a little herb plant that you have on your windowsill, and that's the only fresh food that you can grow, some people don't have garden space, and that's okay. Some people don't have time to get to an allotment. That's okay. Give yourself a plant on your windowsill. Some basil or some coriander or some parsley. Parsley is really easy to grow and really nutritious. So you can put a little bit of that on all your food so that you're getting that fresh life force in everything that you're eating. So that you're not eating loads of processed food that has no life. How can we truly transform ourselves through food if what we're eating has nothing to transform us? If what we're eating is dead? This is something that I think is so important. We are energetic beings full of life force. So what we put in us has to feed that life force. So if what we put in us has been refined and processed and stripped and manufactured and synthetically grown and all the other stuff, where is the life force in that? How is that going to do anything to our being? It may fill our bellies, may give us a small amount of something, small amount of nutrients, will give us energy because there's energy in that food, but it's not going to be giving us life force. So we will be depleting our life force. And you see more and more people walking around kind of grey and tired and exhausted and fed up and caught in this rat race. And part of this is because we are not feeding ourselves with the energy to be ourselves. We are feeding ourselves with food that will suppress us, that will kill our life force, that will kill our motivation, kill our drive, kill our spirit, so that we are sheep, so that we follow blindly because we don't have any energy to do anything else. But now is that time where we're transforming ourselves, when we no longer need to do that, when we need to stand up and stand into our power and stand up for the earth and stand up for ourselves as energetic, beautiful, divine beings. Divine beings that are so blessed to be here. Divine beings that have a connection with the Mother Earth. We are of the earth. And that's the thing we forget, don't we? We are of the earth. We are the same as the earth. We all come from the earth. So if we all come from the earth, we need to give the earth love. Just as we need to love ourselves. You know, when we look at the rape and pillage of the planet, when we look at ourselves, most people are raping and pillaging themselves every day by consenting to things that they don't want to consent to, by eating foods that they don't want to eat, that are not actually food, that are synthetic substitutes for real life. You know, Facebook has its place, don't get me wrong. This is great that we are able to communicate on World Transformation Day with this, but we don't want this interaction to replace the real cellular connection with each other, the vibrational connection, the physical connection that we can have with nature. So many people now are obsessed with screens, are trapped in a world of television, of internet, of Wi-Fi, of 5G coming in, of all this stuff, of watching nature through a screen. Let's get out and be in nature. Because it's also through being in nature that we can recharge our battery. By being on the earth, we can recharge our battery. More and more studies are being done showing that we can get rid of depression, we can increase our positivity, our happiness, all these things by being out in the earth, by gardening. What about turning that gardening into growing? What about joining together with people around you, finding land or allotments and growing together? As we used to, collectively becoming that community of people who connect through the earth and through food. You know, if you think about some of the most special times, or for me anyway, some of the most special times are eating with people, making food with people, connecting over, harvesting food with people, and then making it. This whole cycle. And this is what we innately have in our being, don't we? We were hunter-gatherers, we would forage, we would be one with nature, we would follow what she was providing us, and then we would make food together. We wouldn't be in our insular little bubbles, would we? We wouldn't be separate from everyone else. We would be part of everything. We would be sharing food together. We would be breaking bread together and offering it to our neighbours. We would be celebrating in the joy of life and family by eating together. And when I say family, I don't just mean blood family, I mean soul family. And this is such an important part of transforming our relationship with food, because if you have that in your being, if you have that in your history, that you sit down with your family from being a child, if you have that you have this lovely time over a meal where you talk and you commune and you have that positivity, or you have the opposite where you eat a meal and sit in front of the television, disconnected from what you're eating, disconnected from people, disconnected from reality, how is that food really going to work on that deeper level? And this is the space that we need to get to. So when we're transforming through food, we need to look at the colours we're eating that rainbow so we can breathe that in. We need to look, as I said, at the gratitude. We need to look at trusting our bodies and listening to our bodies. We need to look at healing our gut by putting in fermented foods, so that we can work with the bacteria so they can strengthen our being. We need to eat that cross-section of nutrients, that rainbow of food, so our body is full nutritionally, not just full physically. We need to eat food that will fill our soul. We need to eat life force so that we are feeding our very being. We need to connect with others so that when we're eating, it's becoming a joyful communal experience. And this doesn't have to be every time. Sometimes that's not possible. If you live alone, you can't always eat with others, but we can sometimes. And we can work towards inviting a neighbour round, connecting with people through food, sharing, growing together, harvesting together, tuning into the abundance that nature gives us instead of wasting it. You know, at the moment, nettles and dandelions in the UK are everywhere. Chickweed is everywhere. Beautiful foods that thrive, that fill your being with life force because they're young and vibrant and they're waking up and they're going, oh, it's spring. The sun is coming out. It's time to wake up. And that's what it does to your being. It gives you that, oh, yes, it's time to wake up. We've hibernated a bit over winter. And now it's time for our being to really shine as the sun is shining more, so we can shine more. And it's through food that we're eating that has that life force that allows you to shine more, because it's live, it's living. And as I said, even if it's just some fresh herbs that you put on, that you're growing on your windowsill, that's amazing. That is amazing. I could talk about foods and how they've transformed my life all day. It's such a powerful subject, and it's my favourite subject. Not just looking at the physical aspect of those foods, but looking at the energetics, as we've started to talk about a bit today. You know, looking at the energetics of the medicinal mushrooms and connecting into that web of light, looking at the cacao and the bliss that that releases, and the heart-opening love that the cacao can bring into your life. Looking at the simple joy of eating nettles and the vibrance and life force that they can bring to you. And the zing and the sting if you get a bit on your finger. And honouring yourself. I think this is probably the most important message when it comes to transforming your life through food, is making a conscious choice to love yourself through the food that you eat. So that your food is not just to fill your belly and survive, but your food is going to help you thrive on all levels. And the more conscious choices you can make about your food, the more you view your food as love that you're giving yourself, that you deserve. Because we all deserve love. We are all beautiful, beautiful beings who are filled with love. Maybe we've forgotten that we're filled with love, but we are. That is our essence. Love is our essence. We come from the earth, who is unconditional love. And the earth is giving us that unconditional love, and we need to accept that love from the earth, from the food that she gives us. And we need to be conscious about it, instead of just walking through our lives in an unconscious haze. So we set an intention in the beginning. We're going to set one right now. I want you to take a minute to just close your eyes. and connect in with all the other people in the world who are working for transformation, not just today, but every day. And I want you to think about, feel what you want to transform in your life, what you can transform in your life, and set that intention really clearly. Yesterday was a new moon, a great time to set intentions. We're still in the vibration of that. So with the World Transformation Day, with that vibration of all the people joining in, and the vibration of the moon, and the vibration of yourself and your love, what are you going to transform in your life? If you want to share it with me afterwards, that'd be amazing. Share your journey of transformation. If I can support any of you in any way on this journey, then let me know, because I'd love to. And that's what I do here, is I try to share the transformation I'm going through, because that's how I'm doing this. It's just what I'm experiencing, I'm sharing with everyone else. So I love you all, and I love everyone who came up with the concept of this day, and I love myself, and I love the earth. Namaste, and have a lovely, lovely rest of World Transformation Day.